Oscar goes to
Porn stars and smart cars, the Standard and Scott Bar. Drinks at the Chateau Marmont with Lindsay Lohan and Blow. This is LA, the people here don't play. Got a hot idea, we feel it, best believe we're gonna steal it. To them hoes and Melrose, to get on TV shows, to get for pay videos, and we hope we know it's who you blow. Lots of small girls walking little dogs, and Hollywood Boulevard, we walk over the movie stars. Actors today, they got delusions of grandeur.
I'm the next Brad Pitt.
Now you're a Starbucks manager. You are what we say you are. So just shut up. You gotta give head to get ahead. Well, that's what's up. Well, that's what's.
Welcome to the most overrated, underappreciated, most viewed, underviewed podcast of all time. Welcome to, if you don't know, the Prince of Fresh Air. I'm, of course, your host, the most charismatic man in entertainment. And we're back for another episode. And, you know, before we get into it, I won't blab too much because I know everybody's tired of hearing me. But, you know, I just want to give a quick shout out to Medium's Authority magazine once again for doing a piece, you know, especially for the podcast, you know, stars making a social impact, how me, the host of the Prince of Fresh Air, is changing the world. And I just want to tell people, you know, that this podcast is not just about interviewing celebrities, calling out celebrities, making jokes. You know, it's much more to this. And it's always about telling a story and, you know, promoting positivity because we all got to keep dreaming because dreams come true. Now, speaking of dreams coming true, you know, I've had a couple people call me, you know, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Kevin Hart, you know, a bunch of people want to be a guest on a podcast. And I said, nah, you know, I got to get this guy on first because not only have we worked together, but I think his story is pretty incredible. So, you know, Ron Barba. Who is Ron Barba? Who is this man I'm interviewing? Well, don't worry, I got you covered. You know, he's an actor and producer from Greenwich, Connecticut. He has 2 movies currently on Amazon Prime, Bobby Mortal and God's Will. Amen to that. He's also appeared in national commercials, several independent films, acting off-Broadway plays, produced and starred in 4 of his own made-for-TV pilots. And I've talked about Third Week, and he's actually a co-star as well. So please help me introduce Ron, the Troublemaker Barber. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Percy. It's so good to be here. God bless you. God bless this podcast. This is so great. It's a beautiful, glorious day, and I'm on with the maestro, the future of entertainment. Percy, I'm the past. Anyway.
Yeah, I always said that about Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Not with the old and with the new. So, you know.
I love it.
All right, let me stop before TMZ cut me off. All right. Enough about me. This is not about me because everybody knows me at this point. And, you know, you built your own, you know, social media following, your act, and you've been in the industry for a while. But let's bring it back. You know, how did you get involved with acting? And, you know, what was that process like for you when you first started?
You know, Percy, when I first started, I was in Greenwich, Connecticut, where I grew up, about an hour here from Manhattan, even less. And I was in a play called Annie Get Your Gun. And I played an Indian character named Sitting Bull. And at that time, the Rocky movie had come out, and Clubber Lang, known as Mr. T, he had a mohawk. And that was so big in our culture that they put a mohawk on me. They gave me, now I look the way I did then, but I actually had hair. So actually now this is it. But you had the mohawk going through, and I played this Indian guy. And as soon as I started talking, the audience started laughing. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. I just want to be an actor. And that was like 14 years old. And here I am at 34, 53. But yeah, and it's just always, I've always been a kind of a natural actor, and you just have to work at it. And I just love it. You know, so many things that I've done in my life. I'm so happy for most of the decisions I made from acting.
Interesting. So, like for you, like you grew up, like we're, you know, different generations. For you, when you got involved with it, you know, the landscape has changed even from when I was in high school in 2014 to now. It's only been 10 years, and it's changed. For you, when you started, like, how have you seen the industry evolve to what it is now? Like, is there a big difference?
Oh, yeah. So obviously my generation, which is a film that you didn't even recognize when I first got on. Let's see, maybe your audience members would be like, I know what movie that is. That's my generation. That's Jaws, okay? We're going to need a bigger boat. We're going to need a bigger podcast. To answer your question, you know, obviously with the advent of social media, the explosion of social media, they put the power in the hands of more individuals, I would say. It's dispersed to a degree. there's always going to be the people at the top with all the money, and they get to greenlight all the projects. But if you're a new filmmaker or a filmmaker that wants to get some projects done, it's not as expensive as it used to be to get it looking really good. So I think that social media has been a big help to the average person that doesn't have a lot of money but wants to make films. And so I think it's been a huge help for filmmakers that way.
Yeah. Absolutely. I know there was that one movie, that one director who shot on the iPhone, and it went to the film festivals and then won awards.
Amazing.
Technology is changing. Now, before we get too deep into that, let's just rein it back just a little bit to your beginning, because a lot of people, whether they take classes, they go to school for it, they learn the craft some way. For you, did you go to school for it, or did you just take some classes? And
yeah, so when I was in my teens, about that age I was talking about doing the plays, probably like 14, 15, I had a video camera, and I have 3 brothers and a sister. My brothers, we would shoot commercials, like mocking commercials on television or mocking songs. And so since I was a young teenager, I was always filming stuff and filming, what are they called? I don't even know what they're called. Parodies. I've been filming parodies and mock movies, mock sketches. So as a kid, I did that. And then just in high school, I did some plays, and I would take classes, but I never went to any formal training. I've had a couple acting teachers in New York City, but the best way to do anything is just to go and do it, and that's how you're going to learn the reality of the whatever it is that you're doing in life.
When did you move to New York City?
I moved to New York City what are we talking about? Over 26 years ago, and like I said, it's only 45 minutes away. I used to, growing up in Greenwich, Connecticut, which is a really nice town. I always looked at New York like, oh, what a dirty place, and it still is. But the thing is the point is, I got used to it. Once I came in here, I just fell in love with the city, and so it's really tough for me to even leave. And I just love it here. I love and hate it. It's a love and hate, but I've been here 26 years, so I don't see where I'm going unless I hit it big in Hollywood, baby. I am staying here, New York City.
Really? You never thought of giving LA a shot? Because I lived there, and it's.
So did I.
It's
there for 2 years. It's tough because the culture's different, and it's a car culture, and I got sick of being in my car and everything. You want to do something, you want to go over there, you got to get in your car and drive around for hours. I didn't like that part of it.
For me, when I lived there, it wasn't even a car culture. It was more of just the atmosphere in general. Like when I moved there, 2019 up until last year, it was more like, we was talking off camera. You call me Hollywood person. I think living there kind of made me change the way I look at myself, and I think coming back to New York, I really recentered myself. But it's definitely a more, everybody thinks they're important, if you will.
Well, it's a tough city, and I'm a comedian too. And I actually have a bunch of jokes about LA, but one of them I just did yesterday. It's one of my favorites. I go, when I went out to Hollywood, I got very depressed. It's a very depressing place. It's a very hard place, So I went to therapy. I went to group therapy for dreamers. It's called acting class. And anyway, that was the joke first. You didn't even laugh. Group therapy for dreamers was acting class. It's everybody out there has a dream, and they want to be seen, and they want to be a star. But the truth of the matter is 99.999% are never going to be stars, but they know they have to push for it, and they know they have to kind of connect with the people that are going that way. So that's why you walk into a restaurant there, anytime everybody, turns their head, is that a famous person? And then they just look away from you. It's a very difficult atmosphere to be in when you're trying to make it as an actor. I think, I'm not sure. I only know it from that aspect. So again, I really do like the place a lot, but it is that real negative, dark side of it about you're nobody. And one time, Keenan Ivory Wayans, you know who that is?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I was up in Hollywood once, and we were filming a commercial with a director from New York who's passed away now. He's a very, very talented guy. But I'll never forget, we were doing this really cool ad for GoDaddy. I'm waiting in the car, and it's, I'm not getting paid any money, and it's hot, and we're in LA. And Keenan Ivory Wayans turns the corner, and he's coming right at me. And he's a big guy too, and I'm a big guy, and so are you, Percy. You know, I'm 6'4". Right. You're 6'4", whatever.
Yeah, 6'4", yeah.
We're big guys, and so is Keenan. So he's looking at me like I'm famous, because I could see he was even looking at me. He came all the way up, kept looking, and I'm staring at him. Of course, he's staring at me, and right at the end, he sees I'm not famous. He just turns away. He's like, "Yeah, you know me." And that's just the city that it is, and it doesn't change. You're inside or you are outside.
That is crazy. Yeah, you know, I've had a couple. You know what is crazy? When I moved out there, you know, I had the hair. It was a little short at the time, but I had the height and all that. So I used to get called. Surprisingly, people thought I was a rapper when I lived out there. Everybody thought I looked like Lil Yachty. Even to this day in New York, people when I walk down the street, they think I'm a rapper. But yeah, it's definitely a very. I like LA. I think it's a hard place to live unless you really prepare yourself and really know what you're getting into. Now, to switch over back to
Wait, before you switch over, I gotta stop you. I was a rapper. I went out to LA at the age of 22 to become a rapper. I worked in a recording studio at a place called Echo Sound Studios. And you know who recorded there? Tupac and Ice Cube. I met Tupac. I got his autograph from my brother. And that was the end of my rap career. But I used to rap all the time. I grew up loving rap. I even have a song. I would love if you could play it like in this at some point, where I wrote a song, a rap song with two other guys from New York called So LA. It's called You're So LA. And it's a rap song about LA. And I was in LA when I recorded it with my cousin, who's an engineer, and we shot video there. I'd love if you posted that up there. I'll send it to you. It's called You're So LA. And it's obviously takes down LA about, but it's a reality of what LA is. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you that once you said they thought I was a rapper, I'm like, I was a rapper anyway. Interesting.
All right. Yeah. So send me that. I'll get the square away. I'll do something for you with that. So let me ask you, because I'm a Tupac fan. I didn't grow up with Tupac, but how was he? Like, everybody.
This is the heyday, buddy. This was 92, 93. Were you born yet?
No.
Exactly. You're not even born yet. This cat exploded, like, because West Coast rap was moving up, and because NWA brought it in, and that's what made West Coast big. Then there's some other guys popped up. Then Tupac became like the mouthpiece of the West Coast. His raps were so good, he just took over. So he was so super famous. So can you imagine you're 22 and you want to be a rapper? And my rappers have always been New York rappers. That's what I grew up loving. Run DMC, Beastie Boys, LL Cool J. My favorite is Public Enemy. There's so many that I love. So I was like, wow. When I went to this recording studio and the guy's like, yeah, Tupac records here. I'm like, Tupac records here? So they came in and he recorded a couple times and he was always chill. He just driving in his Mercedes and they'd all sit in the recording room and it's just a puff of smoke. You couldn't see anything. You couldn't see anyone. You walk in there like, Tupac, is that you? And I just went in there one day. I had to. And I'm like, Tupac, would it be okay if I got your autograph from my brother? He loves you. He's like, and he wrote, to Jeff, thanks for being with me. And then he signed it. That was a really cool thing. That's the only real experience of actually talking to him, was asking for his autograph in the place there. That was cool. But Ice Cube was just as cool. And that's when he did that song, I Gotta Say It Was a Good Day. And his producer was in there a lot doing that song. Boom, 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 boom. I would just hear that. I don't know if I heard that loop, but I heard stuff like that. I'm like, these guys are the top of the rap industry, which is the biggest sound coming out in our whole country, in the world possibly.
Wait, so you telling me you could have been Eminem before he was Eminem?
Exactly. And I loved it so much. I don't even know what made me fade away. It's probably that I was only there for 6 months and then I just came back and I don't even know what happened. But man, I used to love rapping. I have so many raps that I did. I used to love rap. I don't love new rap. Obviously, I'm too old for that. But the rap back in my day, and just, I know so many of those songs. Still listen to them today. Rap was so good back then. That's what I wanted to be.
I'm gonna ask you about that in a second, but what made you stop rapping? Was it because acting became your focus, or it was just,
It was likely that. I think it just burned out. But I came back here And I had to get, you always got to get jobs if you're not famous. But I don't know. I kind of just faded away from it. I don't even know what it was. I came back and I joined another guy from my hometown in Connecticut. We did a couple songs called, we were called White Trash. That was the name of our group. We kind of like stole from the Beastie Boys a little bit, their style. But we just that was some of the raps we did, some of the funniest songs. And one of the samples we took, which was killer. I've never heard a rapper do it. I know they have. Is we took the Sanford and Son. We took Quincy Jones' Sanford, boom, 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 and we did a rap over that, and it was really funny. Like Beastie Boys talking about what it's like to be white trash, and we weren't white trash, but the rap was like that. It was like Beastie Boys back and forth. Look what the cat dragged in, trash. Always try to get a little flash cash. It was very funny, dude. It was very funny. And then I yodeled in the song while we're rapping. It was funny, very funny.
Wow, I did not know that. That's actually pretty fascinating.
Rap. I love rap.
I agree. And despite the way I can't rap, I could dance to my wheels fall off. But rapping is just not my thing. It
just never made sense.
Oh, like, yeah.
It made sense for you to do it.
Yeah, but I'm not a rap. Like, I think learning how to act and, playing my voice, I can play around with it, but I wouldn't be a successful. No, I wouldn't even try.
It just wasn't right. Some people, it just was like, do you ever heard of the name? This guy's a New Yorker. His name is Chris Parker. You ever heard of him? KRS-One.
Yes.
The first rap I ever did was in New York, and I got to meet him in a recording studio when I was like 16. And that was the biggest thing in the world because Chris Parker and KRS-One was huge in New York. One of the biggest rappers.
Yeah, well, I think he was from Queens or Staten Island. Wasn't he, if I'm not mistaken?
From the Bronx.
The Bronx.
He's the Bronx, baby.
Yeah, I lived in the Bronx a lot of my teenage years. So I have a little idea of the Bronx.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm a Manhattan kid, but
Manhattan. That's
yeah. I grew up in Manhattan, and then I moved to the Bronx when I was like 11. So I get around, but I don't go to Brooklyn and Queens that often. I'm not one of those people.
I was just in Brooklyn last night. It's like going on vacation when I go to Brooklyn.
What's crazy? It's I was talking to somebody about this, my brother, because he plays basketball tournaments around the city, and so he'll meet a lot of celebrities around. And I went to Dumbo a couple weeks ago, and man, like I couldn't believe how expensive looking it is now. Like Brooklyn is. I was reading Brooklyn is more expensive than Manhattan in certain.
They built it up. I mean, it's right. It's like an extension of it. It's like the same cost. It's beautiful over there. I mean, it's a real nice place to live because you're not in the city. You're kind of like getting, I don't know, not suburban, but you just remove one step from the hustle bustle, and that's a nice thing on you. But the expense, like you said, because there's so many people living there, drove the prices up.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now I want to just ask you about this. Actually, real quick, let me ask you. Since we talking about rap, before I go back to the acting part, different generation. I grew up and listened. I didn't grow up, but I listened to Tupac. I listened to a lot of the rappers from back then. What do you think of the? Because this is a big debate. Do you think rap has gotten worse? Especially now.
The rap is dead in my mind. It's dead. Like, I don't even listen. I'm like, none of these songs. Once in a while, I'll like, oh, that's by whom? Like, all right. So the big guy, Kanye West, I love 1, 2 of his songs. 2. Is it 3 or 2? Excuse me. 3 of his songs. The rest, garbage. Like, ugh, terrible. Just the worst. And people love it. You guys love it. I get it. That's fine. But when you listen, it's like listening to old rock and roll. It's like, come on, Chuck D, give me a break. Run DMC, please. The Beastie Boys, what? Like these guys, there's so many hits, so many cool songs, and it was a new art form. These guys are kind of trying to do it. They get a little bit, but it's over in my mind. Just like rock and roll is over.
Right. Yeah. Me personally,
it makes the still money. That's why I keep going.
That's true, and I think it has a big part of why it changed with social media. Like everybody's looking to go viral. With TikTok, a lot of people attention spans are shorter, So how do you get people, immediately hooked? It's changed rap for. I think there's some good artists, but I do think like the whole mumble rapping and stuff is. Hey, I mean, I listen to it, so I'm not gonna be a hypocrite, but I do see some of the older people's point of rap isn't what it used to be. You had like Tupac. I like him because he had a message behind every song, and it was catchy. So
Absolutely. I like who T.I. is?
of course,
I like him, and he's more modern. He's more of a modern guy. I like a couple of his songs.
yeah,
I always like some of the guys, occasionally, but it's just like rock. Like you've already heard that. It's like you can't really hear it anymore. When you grew up with it and you've heard it, it's hard to hear new stuff. And you're like, that's what they like today, and that's what's being marketed to them. But there's nothing like when the stuff came from the streets, and it was just there's something organic about it, something poetic about it. And today, I'm sure there's some type of poetry, but I don't think it touches the guys from the past. That's me.
no,
no. It was so creative. Slick Rick, you know who Slick Rick is?
Yeah, of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many. I didn't name Rakim. Eric B and Rakim are amazing. But it's cool. It's cool with young people doing it and carrying it on. I just don't. It doesn't make sense to me.
that's fair.
I don't listen to it.
See, a lot of people always think I just listen to like Coldplay because I grew up listening to Coldplay, especially in high school. But I'm from the project, so I grew up 50 Cent, G Unit, all of those people, and I have older siblings, so they kind of exposed me to the wide range of music. So yeah, I mean, I think things are going to change regardless with time, and it might be for the worse, it might be for the better, but things are naturally going to change. So back then in the 90s, you had all that good music, but you also had a lot of violence, a lot of.
Well, that's when the violence started, was in the LA stuff, and then people getting shot, Tupac getting shot, Biggie getting shot. And then I heard, recently in the last couple of years, I see guys getting shot.
It's been horrible, yeah.
Shooting people? I'm like, God damn, like that was the wrong angle to go. And this is what happens sometimes in life. People just go the wrong angle with it. And it wasn't like that. When they came up, even Master Jay from MC shot dead. It wasn't like that. It just wasn't like that. Rap was not about, it wasn't about violence. It was about being cool and saying how cool you were. And you could, diss the other guy, but it wasn't so hard that you made the guy want to kill you, which is what it kind of became. It became a violent, they took it to a place that it should never have gone. And it's very sad, very obviously for the people, especially the people who got shot and the people, the families around them. It's like, come on, this is music, guys. Don't forget, it's music. But I understand, it's that's in certain types of in that culture, there are some crazy people, and even when NWA came out, a lot of their stuff had to do with violence, and it became a fine line, and then people listening is like, yeah, I'm gonna go shoot him. It's like, what? I'm gonna go shoot the person? It wasn't like that before NWA. It was never like that.
Yeah, everybody's trying to be like Alec Baldwin. I'm just kidding.
Yes.
I'm getting
How did he make it through?
Who, Alec Baldwin?
How did he make it through? Yeah, he escaped. No, he had nothing against him. Someone was killed on his set.
But as actors, right? There's going to be. I feel like, and a lot of people don't understand this. Like, we both know how what goes on behind the scenes. You have a prop master. You have the people behind the scenes who take care of that. So, from an actor standpoint, should he have checked it? Maybe. But most of the time, when you're handing a prop, you don't really think let me check this, because when you're on a multi-million-dollar production set, everything is accounted for. Everything is double checked. Time is money. So I think for him, you can't really blame him, because this is not like a, on the street thing. This is, you're on your job getting paid. There's people who should have taken, precautions with the props. I know people don't like him, so they think he's a murderer, but hey, the prop people should have had that under control.
No one took responsibility. No one was, arrested. It's just this person was murdered, and there's no justice for this person.
The show business.
Show is no business. Don't point that gun at me. If you point that gun, first make sure that it's blanks.
Hey, put them up. No, no more Alec Bowen jokes.
Man, dark in this. It's too light out for this darkness.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Let's bring the light back in. So, Ron, like for you, when you got into acting and you started doing the productions as you got along in your career, what was the like for you? I was talking. I'm sure you already heard. I had Dennis who plays Reggie in Bad Boys. I asked him the same question. Like, what was the hardest part for you learning? Being on set and as you got bigger gigs. Like, what was the transition like for you from going from a small local play to doing feature films with budgets and having so many people involved with the process?
Well, you say what was the hardest thing?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just as an actor, the most important thing for anything you do is to be prepared. And the thing is, I love acting so much that I was always prepared. So it was never really that hard, except that you might feel some pressure in that you're dealing with better people. And so, you're going to get it right anyway. So I don't know. It's to me, the hardest part is just getting those gigs. It's not even executing them. Like, I would love to act with the best, but the people that are doing the best, making the most money, doing these big films, because it's just hard to get to them. So it's really not a question of what's hard about acting. It's the same thing. You do your work, and you have to do your work as an actor. And then you execute. Otherwise, you shouldn't be doing it. And there's a lot of people that I see like, why are you even doing this? You don't look at it, the way that you should be looking at it, which is just, it's just about the hard work of being the best actor you can be. And so I don't really look at it as like a hard thing, as like things got harder at all. I just was like, the hard thing is getting the gig,
right.
Out the people, meeting the right person to get the right gig.
Yeah, I 100% agree, and I tell people that all the time. It's not about it. People think the industry is easy to get into. Oh, all I gotta do is just learn a couple lines, and I'm like, first of all, you skipping a whole bunch of things just to get the audition alone. It's a lot of work. And one of the reasons why I had Dennis, aka Reggie, for people who know him, on was because I was fascinated by the fact that for a 15-year-old kid from the Bronx who had no prior experience to get a role in such a highly acclaimed movie with A-listers, that's not happening nowadays. So like
rare.
For you, like when you look at
he's an exception. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's always exceptions to the rule, but there's been in the history. I know Mekhi Phifer. He was another one. He was doing background for Law and Order. He got his big break. He was I don't even think he was doing background that day. I think he just kept showing up, and they eventually gave him a part, and he got a bigger part, and then his career took off. So, like in that frame, like, what are some of the valuable things you think you've learned along the way that you might tell either a younger version of you or maybe an up and coming actor you think they should know?
Yeah, well, I like what you said about, you just mentioned showing up, constantly showing up. It's you really have to love it. What you learn from a lot of people who quit is that they don't love it, or they don't love it to the degree that you're being pushed. So you have to have that kind of craziness and that insanity to know that there's a lot of ugly things happening, but you're like, you don't care. You have a goal, and you have to see that goal. You have to believe the business will push you to a point where you're like, is this what I want to do with my life? And you have to make that decision. It'll push you to make that decision. So it does weed out a lot of the people, most of the people that aren't serious about it or don't want to be that serious about it. So you got to know in your gut that you love this thing, and that this is what you are, is what you were meant to do, and because the sacrifice is unbelievable, and you have to sacrifice to kind of get the things that you want. And even sometimes you get those things and you realize it's not really what I wanted, but you know that to get those things, you're going to have to sacrifice so many things in your life. So you got to be ready for that. And like you said, it's not an easy thing. People look at acting. I did myself, like watching out. I'm like, that looks like fun. And it is so much fun when you're doing it. but the process is extremely, extremely hard and can be painful. But you have to really look yourself in the mirror and say, is this who I am? Am I an actor? And am I willing to do what it takes? Which is deep stuff you have to do.
Absolutely. It's a lot of work behind the scenes that people don't see. And I want to ask you this, because someone asked me this question recently, and you don't have to get too deep into it, but like when you get a role, whether it's an audition or let's just put it, you get casted in a project. What is your process like when you get that role? Like, how do you, because I always talked about the basics, who, what, when, where, why, who's your character, blah, blah, blah. But for you, do you have like a ritual or a certain thing that you do to prepare for a role?
Well, the first thing you do, you read through the script. And I'm not sure if it was Stanislavski or Meisner said you need to read the script like 5 times, which I don't do that. But they said that because they want you to really get it so ingrained in you. But what I do is I get the lines ingrained in my head, because that was a famous line from either Gregory Peck or Spencer Tracy to Gregory Peck, is learn your lines. And you'd be surprised how, I don't know if it's lazy or people don't have the ability to remember their lines, but learning your lines is so important. Because people think it's like, oh, I learned my lines. Like, you didn't really learn them, because you have to learn them so cold that they literally sit in the back of your head, and you don't even know you're there. They're there, and that's what makes you ready to act. Because once they're in the back, now you can be out with the person that you're acting with, and you're just feeling them. And you don't have to go, oh my God, they say this and then I say this. You don't want to be in that mind space. You just know it's almost like you've done the work in the memorization so heavily. And people say, how do you do it? It's like, how do you memorize? You pound it into your head. I do it. I go over my lines hundreds of times in the shower, outside. I wake up a lot of times. I'll go over my lines late at night. And then I wake up when my head is totally fresh, and I'll just start doing my monologue. I'll be saying those words again, knowing what each part is. And that's just kind of how I do it. But my God, if you don't know your lines, you'll never be a great actor. And I mean, really know them. That's memorization. So that should cut everybody out that's bad at memorization or doesn't want to do the work of memorization, which is a specific talent. It's a skill.
No, you are 100% right. That's actually beautiful said. That's actually not something I hear often, but you are 100% right, because most people, and I was telling a buddy about this recently, it's like, his manager, talked to him about, hey, you got to memorize these lines for this audition. And, when you get to that level, when you audition for TV shows and stuff, you got to be prepared, because you might get the call the night before. Hey, we need you on set. Here's the script. We need you to, come in tomorrow. So I think it is a true professional thing to show up all times. Now, always say bring the script in hand just in case, but you have to at least know what your character is saying and the lines. You can mess up. Everybody messes up.
Of course.
But if you know what you're saying, then it's easier to be in the scene than and I'll tell you this, I messed up plenty of times. I'm not even gonna act like I'm the most seasoned professional walking on the earth.
People do.
But let me ask you, what was the most, if you could go back, what do you think was some of the most messed up lines or messed up moments you think you've done, or
Well, this is not me, but it was, like I said, I've acted with people who didn't know their damn lines, and I'm like, why are you an actor? You can't even remember lines. Like, you're an actor that doesn't remember their lines. Like, why are you even doing this? And you're making me look bad. So I was doing a play on Sherlock Holmes, and I was playing Watson. And the old guy that was my co-star, he was playing Sherlock Holmes. He just couldn't remember. I don't know if it's because he was old. He couldn't remember his lines, but there were so many times where he's on. This is stage now. See, I do stage and I do film. And this is on stage live. This guy doesn't know his lines. And I'm sitting there going, buddy, I got to remember my lines. Really good actors know both people's lines. I can't remember other people's lines. I'm not that good. But he would say, and so some comedian made a joke about it when I told this comedian, like, this guy couldn't remember his lines. The guy was like, elementary, my dear. Watson, you know. That was the joke. But yeah, it's really, I have not, of course, I've forgotten my lines too. And when you're in a play, sometimes you'll skip over a part or a monologue. But most of the time, the audience can't really recognize it. And when you're doing film, you know, I've always been really prepared in film, but I've seen people that have not, and they slow up the production by not being able to get it. And then it's embarrassing for them. And I always go, well, you don't want this embarrassment? Stay at home and know your lines better. So I've really been very lucky that way. It's almost like it's because of my love for acting that I've always been prepared when I show up to set and know my lines. Always.
Oh, I 100% agree. And, you know, I 100% agree with you. You know, when you get that call, especially on these major productions, and you mess up like that, unless you're the main actor, you know, they may not be calling you back. So
that's a big deal. Can you work with this person? This person can't remember their lines. They're not taking it seriously.
Right.
Something's wrong with this person. Any of those things can happen.
You know, people often, you know, compare theater acting to film work and always say, you know, they're different. And I feel like every actor needs to do both at some point. But for you, you know, because people always ask, which one is harder, theater or TV? Which one, in your opinion, or you could say both on the same playing field?
But such an easy answer. It's film is 10 times easier because you can always go, cut. Let's do that again. Plays, it's like you don't get cut. It's like you do it one time. You get one chance. If you don't convey the message right, you're screwing up the play. You're there, you know. So to me, the theater is so beautiful that way, which is funny because I always just wanted to be a film actor, not a theater actor. But I find myself, because we're in New York and we're the home of theater, that I find myself doing a lot of plays and I quite enjoy them. But I don't enjoy them as much as I enjoy doing film because that's always been my passion, has been film, always.
Yeah, you know, honestly, I was a theater kid for, you know, a decade, and I don't do theater as much anymore, mostly, and I'm gonna ask you this too, because for me, when I had to go from theater to film work, it took me a while to really dial it all back, and I think when I kept doing theater, it would make it harder for me to get back into that space of how to act for camera because it's two totally different styles. For you, do you find it easier to go, you know, jump back and forth? Because I know some people, they will take a break from, you know, doing one to do the other and they allow themselves to get in the process, or they could do both. Like for you, do you find it, which way suits you?
It's funny you ask. I really enjoy going back and forth. And I do agree that they are two different things. You know, when you have a camera on you and you're mic'd up, you're speaking like we're speaking right now, very naturally. When you're speaking on stage and you got to hit the back wall, then you might say something like, "How do you do today?" You would never say it this loudly. But
Right.
Because you're doing theater acting, you would talk a little bit louder so everyone could hear you and project your voice.
Right.
So it's both. They're both really cool and different, and I enjoy their difference. But the one thing you don't want to do is when you're doing a lot of film, and this happens to me, and it's probably happened to a lot of actors, is you don't want to drop your voice. You can drop your voice in film because the microphone is picking it up, so they can enlarge it. They can just turn up your voice.
Right.
So a lot of times you'll be talking to someone in theater, and you'll be just having you naturally talk to someone the way we're talking right now in a regular volume. But like I said, in theater, you have to be grander so that they can hear in the back because they paid money too to see this thing. And they didn't hear what you said because you're talking like this. So, anyway.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that was beautiful. I love the pitch. You know, I took voice and diction while I was at St. Bonaventure, and my theater professor, wonderful guy. That was one of the things I had to learn was how to play my voice. And I think naturally over the years, because I did theater for so long in my life, that I think I just naturally am a louder person now. But yeah, like the other day I was doing an audition for a TV show. I remember hearing this from one actor before. You don't need to be loud when you're, you know, doing the scene. And sometimes for me, I think it slips my mind a little bit. And then, you know, I'm doing multiple takes. You know, we was talking about this a little bit earlier about, you know, self-tapes. And we're going to get to all that in a second. But then I started playing with, how about I get closer to the camera and talk like this, opposed to doing the scene, the one same voice note, because I don't want to, raise my voice too much. It's a whole, thing. But actually, since we are talking about self-tapes, let me ask you, because the industry has changed, since the pandemic has changed the game. Now we have self-tapes. Now, certain markets, I told you, I think of off camera, LA is going back to, in person for a lot of stuff. I don't know about the other markets, but New York, a lot of it is still self-tapes. Do you think this is the norm, or do you think that eventually they might go back to what it used to be?
I definitely think that it's the norm, and it's a great way for a casting agent to, to be able to sift through the people that just have no business in doing this role, so they can quickly get rid of those people rather than seeing them and wasting time. They can just see the tape and get rid of them. And I don't think that's going to change, because it's a lot easier. Like you said, we were talking off camera about the space, and you don't need it's just cheaper for them to do this and still get a lot of the applications and get the right candidate. But from a personal standpoint, and I think a lot of actors probably feel the same way, is that it doesn't feel like acting anymore. It feels like you're just talking out in space like a crazy person. And I think it's taken a lot off for me personally. I don't enjoy doing them, and so therefore I haven't done a lot of them. And it's unfortunate. And one time I was in a play. I was going to audition for a play with Sean Young. She was a big actress back in the 80s and the 90s, and I was going to audition for a play with her, and I was so excited. When I sent in my audition, the casting agent was very personal with me. She was cool with me. She's like, "Ron, this is terrible. You don't have the right background." She sent me a couple of the people, what they're sending in. And so they looked differently. They had a different background. And I was just like, that's what they're doing now. They're like forcing the actors to dress up and have a different background and move the camera and have someone speak to them. I had to go it's like, now I have to do all the work to do this audition rather than just go in and audition for you. You have me setting up everything. And the one thing I said to her, I said, listen, that's fine that those people did it that way, but did you look at the acting? Like, everything is just looking at the acting. It's not looking at how was he dressed and how was the background. Did you watch the character? But they don't. They want it to be a certain way, and I haven't gotten acclimated to that yet, and it's probably been a disadvantage to me because of that.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, and I'm not calling you old or anything, but I do think a lot of older. You're not old. You're not old. 53 is not old.
53, baby.
Yeah, I mean, not a spring chicken, but
How old are you?
I just turned 29.
Oh, what a life! Your life is unbelievable.
Yeah, and for me, I think for the younger generation, for a lot of us, we grew up with technology, so it's a lot easier to kind of make that change. And I do think a lot of older actors are having that issue. I wouldn't even say just older, because there are people in their 30s who are struggling with it, mostly because some people choose not to use social media and use technology. I think that it is a big disadvantage. But, one of the things I had a conversation with my agents about this before, during the pandemic, I didn't have a whole backdrop and stuff. I just had a blank wall in my room that I just self-taped. And I didn't think about the lighting. I didn't think about all that. I just thought about, all right, the background is clean. It's not distracting. I'll do the work. But then, when I got with my manager, she broke down everything to me. She was like, first of all, that light, even though it's good, is beaming right down on you. So it's casting a shadow on your chin. The camera, you're leaving too much space above your head. You got to make it tighter. If they want a full body slate, you got to do it this way. You got to go, So it took a lot of failure to really get to that point. And I think now I'm comfortable doing it because I know that this is it. Unless you learn to get it right, I want to get dropped, So for me, well, it's not even that. It's more just I'm trying to book the role. But right. I think that I don't think it will go back. I think the reason why LA is probably doing it that way is because the market is very different out there. There's a lot more variety of gigs, and it's a car culture. So for a lot of people, it's a little easier to jump in your car and get somewhere than you. And this heat, I got the fan on me. If I gotta go to audition somewhere, I'm be sweating. Hair's gonna be all straight out. So it's a whole mess. So I do think, on one hand, it has been a disservice, But on the other hand, you get to produce your best work. Now you don't have an excuse not to show your best version. So, it's a catch 22. But speaking of, self-tapes and stuff, we're also seeing a lot of, celebrities or just actors in general. I'm part of like this big Facebook group of actors. And a lot of them talking about the structure of, the SAG strike changed a lot of things. And, there was one actress in particular from a hit TV show in the 2000s who's talking about how her residual checks have dried up. So she has to resort to, other ways to make money. Not illegal, but, what do you think about the current landscape? Because it seems like most gigs are going to digital. How do you feel about that switch now as well?
Well, I mean, I'm sure that Hollywood has always shaded their numbers for themselves and against the talent, and it's hard to see who's getting what and how many people are watching these things and how where they come up with the numbers that they're paying. But there's no question in my mind that there's a tilt, and the people in business, the networks and the production companies. I mean, it's because I'm cynical about people, but I just feel like, this time actors can get ripped off unbelievably so, more than ever, because it's so hard to really see if they should be, what are the numbers that they should be receiving. It's too hard to find out what those numbers really are, and to audit them, and there's no way of really knowing. So I feel like they're definitely getting screwed in the biggest way. And there's really nothing they can do. I don't know what they can do about it. I don't think there's anything they can do about it. And they're just going to have to take it. They're just going to have to take it and take whatever those low numbers are and go back to friggin' Uber riding, which is terrible. But there's a lot of that. It's like, so now you're like, now it's getting even thinner. You're like, now that's another hardship. Who's going to stay in this business if you're not making enough money? Like, you know what? It's not worth it anymore. It's just too hard anyway. I'm on TV or I'm on a movie and I'm over here driving driving a cab or whatever it is. I think they had to do that in the past as well. I've heard stories like that, before the social media, but today I think it's too hard to gauge, and it's too hard to monitor.
It's sad. I know a lot of people who's been in TV, and it's some of the guy who's serving your drinks has been on TV for many years, and unfortunately he just we could go down this whole rabbit hole for a long time, but I do think that eventually, I think that the push is everything's going digital anyway, because how many people have cable nowadays? So it's just natural that everything's going to go there. And I do think that one positive upside to all of this is there's more opportunities, right? Because there's some films out there, as great as they are, because they're not a multi-million-dollar budget, film, they would never get a chance to be on Amazon or Netflix. But now they're allowing, independent filmmakers, actors who may not, get the opportunity to be, seen on a wider stage. So,
that's
like I said,
it's a give and take. There's pros and cons.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I've talked about this on the podcast plenty of times, but I'm curious to see what it's going to look like 20 years from now. AI and all this stuff too. It's crazy.
AI. I heard. I always forget Tyler Perry. He was going to build like a $50 million studio down in Atlanta, and they brought him into a room and watched him. They showed him what AI could do, for sets and everything. He's like, scrap those plans. I'm not spending that money. He's like, AI is going to make everything so cheap. All these people that do set design and camera and all this, they're all going to lose their job.
Yeah.
That's what he said in the article. And he was right. You knew what he was just telling the truth of what it was. So
but
again, you got to find out. You go right back to, do you love this? Do you want this badly? Because that's coming. And are you going to be that good that you can still maintain income from doing this?
Now let me. Right. Now let me ask you, because like I said, this industry is very hard. You have a list of credits going all the way back to 2004, which is not a accurate depiction of your work, because not everything makes it to IMDb. But for you, what is some of the sacrifices you feel like you had to make? Because obviously with acting, You never know when the opportunity's coming, so you got to stay prepared. How do you keep yourself sane and balanced, in between gigs and, to be prepared? How do you find yourself having that balance between being very professional, being ready, but also balancing life as well? Because, bills got to get paid as well.
Yeah. Good question. It's a great question. How do you keep the balance? And sometimes you get off. Like I performed last night doing stand-up, and I hadn't performed in like a month and a half. And so it hurts when you don't perform. You need to practice like anything else. You need that muscle memory. So in between, you got to stay busy. You got to stay active, and you got to stay positive. And a lot of times it's your attitude in life. That I have a friend that was very famous many, many years ago, and he's not, and he's struggling in life right now. He's a very negative outlook in life. And, I feel like you really got to maintain a positive outlook in everything that you do as an actor. You should do it as a non-actor too, but you really have to as an actor, because there's so many drops where you're not working, nothing going on. You feel like you don't have it. And you got to stay in the game mentally. You got to really toughen up, and it's not easy. It's a psychological screw around with your head. So again, you really have to do a lot of psychological work. I've seen people go crazy because they weren't being successful, and it's like literally going crazy. And I was like, it can do that to you too. Mm-hmm. So it's something. It's something that it's more than meets the eye when you see these people on camera and you see them acting and how fun it looks. There are some tough-minded people doing this stuff, very tough-minded. And you hear how nasty that person is. Alec Baldwin's this and that, or it's not just I started to call back, right. but just that it's a lot tougher than you think, and you got to have a really tough mind to stick in this thing.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things is. And I that's why I wanted to get him, talk about a little bit about what you do outside, comedy, rapping, because I do think without this podcast, I don't know where I'd be. Because during the pandemic, I was losing my mind. I was like, when is the next opportunity coming? What am I going to do? How am I going to make some money? And I think once I found another way to create my own thing and allow my creative expression out, I think, don't get me wrong, it's still my passion. But I'm not every day waking up like, I ain't get the role. So,
right.
So for you, did you find comedy as that outlook for you, an outlet to?
Absolutely. It was a great, and I always love comedy too. And Richard Pryor, growing up, Richard Pryor was my favorite comic. And I'm always like, wow, that, again, just like acting, like, wow, that looks like fun. You're just making people laugh. What a great job. So it was fun. I didn't start doing stand-up till I was 35 years old. And I, I've always loved it, but my passion's always been acting. That's kind of why I did stand up for a good, strong 5, maybe 10 years. And then I faded away from it because you have to dedicate all of your time towards it and with entertainment. So I still do stand up here and there, nothing big, but I decided to dedicate my time mostly to acting because I realized that was my real passion. It wasn't stand-up. Whereas you meet stand-ups and that's all they love. They love stand-up. And I only like stand-up, and you have to have the same kind of drive and determination. But, again, I also have other interests in life. And I realize that life is more meaningful to me than being an actor. Yes, it's something that I always wanted to do and I love it, but there's also a million other things that I love doing in this world. And it's a great world to live in. I'm very happy here. Very happy person. And I'm very lucky that I'm very happy because a lot of people are not happy. I just happen to have a very lucky disposition of being happy most of the time. Born that way, kind of, sometimes you are or you're not.
Yeah, with that attitude, you don't belong in New York, man, because everybody walking around got an attitude.
Just get that face. They got the frown on their face like they don't want to be here. Same thing with actors. You see them like, why do you even want to do acting? You look so miserable doing acting. You got to be happy to do this stuff. You got to be happy to be in New York when they're giving it to you. You still got to be happy.
Yep, especially with these grocery prices, rent prices, man,
everything. The cost is unbelievable. Inflation's ridiculous. Have you seen the price of a blow-up doll?
No.
That's one of my jokes. Anyway. Guy, do not come to one of my comedy shows. You will not laugh once.
No, I will help you. I will help you.
I have a hilarious video of me in an all-black crowd in Brooklyn. bombing the hell. 10 minutes. Black people looking at me like, no. And
I want my money back.
And I loved every minute of it because I bombed so much it didn't matter who I was in front of. I'm like, this is hilarious because I know I'm funny, all right? Not to you, but I know I'm funny. That night was a bad night. It was just everything went wrong. And my buddy, who's a black guy, he filmed it. And I love that he filmed it because he's a comic. So he knows that we love this shit. He knows that we're crazy. Like you think actors are crazy. Stand-ups are another crazy. So he's filming me bombing and I'm loving it. I'm even talking to him like, man, this is the biggest bomb I ever had. And I posted that bomb and man, it got so many views. So many people saying how brave I was. It wasn't bravery because I wasn't doing controversial jokes. They were just not doing well, the jokes. And people, and it was just so, and the fact that I wanted to post a bomb is hilarious too, because you're like, this guy is nuts. He's trying to be a successful comedian and he's posting one of the worst performances ever.
You know what? That could be a thing though, because hey, you could be a comedian who's just known to not be funny, you know? So
you're talking about something that's actually going on right now. Keep going, Purse.
Yeah, no, I know there was one
who wants me to do that. He wants me to deliberately bomb. But the problem is, and I can do that naturally, but you know, to make it funny that this guy is so bad that he's good. So we're talking about doing that. It's in the works. So look out for me.
I got to see this.
I want to tell you the name of what it is, but then someone will steal it watching this because the guy that's going to write this stuff, he's a really successful writer. He wrote the movie with Michael Imperioli called Summer of Sam. He's a good friend of mine, and he really wants me to do this character that you're talking about right now, and that I have done, and that this video lives on Facebook of me just bombing so heavy in an all-black crowd in Brooklyn, and it was funny as fuck to me because I'm like, I bombed so many times, guys. I don't care you're not laughing, but I'm trying to make you guys laugh. I'm doing my best.
I'm telling you, you might be able to make something out of this.
Yes, this could be it. First, I think we got something.
You know what? I'm not even gonna charge you 10%. All right, just give me a little credit at the end.
I want you to give me some of the gigs, you know, and bring me around. Be like, this is my guy. He's gonna bomb the hell out of you guys. But you gotta love the guy. See, that's the whole art of it. It's the art of bombing. It's so bad, it's good. Remember, it's so bad, it's good. It's good. Sound like this guy's terrible, but I love it. That's the art form of it.
Yeah. You know, I'll tell you this real quick. I actually been writing my own comedy thing because I've thought about doing it. You know, New York is the scene.
How could you not?
I don't know yet. We'll see.
Stand-up comedy and theater, that's what we're known for. Hollywood does the films.
You know what? I think the act in me is like until I perfect the actual, because I'm not gonna make a whole routine script, but until I perfect this one routine, I'm actually still working on it. I won't get on stage now. Maybe this year I will make it a point, but I do want to try just to see because I know I'm funny. You know, my mom laughs on my jokes. The credit card collected laughs on my jokes, but will the IRS laugh? No,
you got to do it, man. You got to, whatever people say, I say you got to go up and do it. I'm not telling you to make it a lifestyle, and I would not suggest that lifestyle. But I do say if you've got even the inkling, you got to get up there and do it and bomb and get crushed, and you'll feel your soul leak out of you because these people don't like you. And it's good for you. It's good for you because you only get stronger. Like everything, you only get stronger.
Yeah, talking about being good for you. You know, we've been on this for an hour, and thank you again for coming on. You know, it's always fun to have a nice chat with a comedian like yourself. But
thanks.
A little cheap plug here. You know, we both did a movie that's currently streaming out in Spain as we speak. Third week, which we shot in 2022, and we didn't share any scenes together, unfortunately. No. But I remember the script reading that day when we all sat together in the theater, and we amazing time. For you, what was that process like for you? Because I know I had posted a trailer preview, if you will, on Instagram, and that one scene with you and Alvin was one. It's not funny, but I found it funny about how serious you were. So, like for you, how was the process was for you? You know, shooting.
I
And all that
love
stuff?
it, man. I love that role. You know, just playing the angry guy and a little bit racist, you know, and just discriminating, and it's easy. It's so easy to play, you know, and it's just that darkness. Like, I don't like you. I don't care, you know, and I just love doing that. I just love acting. It's like, it's a weird thing. It's like, I just can't tell you. The process is like everything. It's just learn your lines. I don't care what the role is, but I got to play the coolest role of this guy who's mistrusting and distrusting this young man who's trying to turn his life around. And I'm kind of an obstacle in his way, and I'm questioning him and testing him. And I play that guy. So it's not even a challenge. It's just a cool role to play, that you're playing the block in someone's advancement. And so to play that, you know, there's just so many ways you can do that. If you ever had like anger towards someone, you want to thwart their plans. That's what this guy was doing in it. And so I loved doing that. I loved every part of showing up to that cool set. I don't know if were you ever on that set?
I don't think I was at just that. No.
To go there, and this just an amazing was it die cast company where they do moldings of metal. This huge operation that we got to shoot in. It's like $1 million set that we got to shoot on. So it looks so real and so legit. And Alvin was such a good actor. I got to play off him. He was just great. And everybody was. It was a really great set, great script, very meaningful, and just really beautiful. And now it's playing in Spain. 10 different theaters, man.
Yeah.
Like all over Spain. God, I hope it comes here. It's playing in the Bronx, right? On the 28th.
Yep, June 28th.
I'm going to try to get it the 29th, I think it is.
29th, yeah.
But the thing is, I'm going to try. I have to go to a party that night. I'm going to try to go to the party and then come in from Connecticut back to go see the film. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I'm going to try.
There's another one in August too. So
that one I'll definitely go. That one,
yeah.
I might be out in LA filming a film, but we'll see.
Now I will say,
I'm busy. I'm a wanted actor.
I know. Let me tell you this. Dwayne Johnson. I'm messing up his name. He just sent me an email like, you bastard, you calling me out. So you know that's the type of life I'm on.
Look at you.
But I will say, I did go to the machine shop. I know you're talking about, because I think Jordy, the director, he took. I went there with a couple other people. Amazing set. I wish I would have been able to do some scenes, but I'll tell you this: when we were shooting in Staten Island, me, Alvin, and Aisha, who plays the girlfriend, those scenes, we actually had gang members from the project stopping, watching. Some people were starting trouble, but it was pretty incredible to see people who had no idea, like stopping, asking us questions like, "Oh, what is this about? Oh, what are you shooting? What's your character?" And we're talking about people who have no business being around, but they were intrigued, and it was such a cool experience. Because that was the first time I shot. Well, no, it was the second time I shot a scene outside, but it was the first time it was involved with. We had cars involved, we had a whole bunch of people involved, so it was pretty cool to see. Amazing film, and I can't wait for it to come to the US officially.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but Ron, that's right. We're going big. Besides me, of course. I think you're the second top. Yeah.
I'm trying to get like you. All right.
Yeah, I'll give you some advice after. No.
Get me up to your level, would you please?
I'm trying. So what's next for you, Ron? We've been at this for a little while, but what is next for you? Do you see yourself anything lined up? Do you have any goals you want to accomplish this year? Like, what's next for you?
Well, the immediate thing that's happening is in July, I'm in a play here at the Jewish Heritage, I think the History of Jewish Heritage Center on like 15th and 6th. It's a play called The Trial of Eichmann, which is a famous trial. This guy who was a Nazi who persecuted Jews, and I'm playing a judge in this play. And I'm really excited to do that play because it's with a colleague of mine that I used to do dinner theater of all things. And he's become a really big producer. He's a documentary producer, and he also produces a bunch of plays here in New York and in Paris. He travels all over the world. He's an opera singer, and he's still giving me great roles in his plays. He still has that confidence in me. So I'm doing that in July. And then in August, I'm supposed to go out to LA, our favorite place. LA, I want you to put in my So LA. You got to put in my rap from So LA. I got to send it to you. I'm going to be shooting a pilot about Alcoholics Anonymous people that friends of mine wrote when I was out there. So that's going to be in August, and then after that, I'm going to come back, and I'm dying to film a script that I have written with a bunch of other people called "I Killed Last Night" about comedians. It's a horror movie about comedians, a horror movie. So that's really what I have in store for my immediate future in the last few months. The next few months.
Interesting. All right, so it's going to be a nice, productive summer.
Going to be very productive, buddy. As I also go out on boats and chill in pools too and hit tennis balls.
Oh, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Come on.
All right, what's your drink of choice, though?
Buddy, I only drink one thing. So what's funny, this is one of my jokes too. I do not drink anymore. I have not had a drink in a year, in over a year, about a year and a half.
Congratulations.
Thank you. For 30 years, I had a drinking problem. But I changed. I just go out to bars now when I perform, and I just order sodas. But now I have a Coke problem. That's my fifth joke you didn't
I knew it was I was waiting.
I mean, come on, I go out and order sodas, and now I have a Coke problem. But I don't drink anymore, but I used to drink like mad, and I love drinking. And it's tough when I'm now I can have a beer. Every once in a while I'll have a beer, but I drink everything. I love whiskey. I love gin. I love vodka. I love, you name it, tequila. I love drinking. I love partying. I always have. So I don't drink anymore, but I will occasionally have a drink here and there. What's your favorite drink?
Me? Surprisingly, despite the looks, I don't party that often. And I'm not talking about P. Diddy, so get that out the way.
I love taking them down when they're already coming down. Keep going. Boom, 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 boom. When they're up and down.
That's why they pay me the small bucks. I will tell you, I'm a simple guy. I like a little either ginger ale and Jack with Coke. Nice. I'm not gonna lie. I will drink some wine coolers once in a while. Nice. Me, it depends how I'm feeling. If that day my mission is to get sloppy, not too sloppy, but enough to the point where I'm like, yeah, what's up, bro? I will drink whatever's available. But I'm not a beer guy. I can't drink beer. It's not, I'll drink it once in a while, but not my thing.
You're lucky. I just love the drink. And I've been drinking. I was in a fraternity in college, and we used to drink like pigs. It just kind of set me off for years. And I really drank. I definitely abused alcohol, but I was never an alcoholic, but I definitely abused alcohol. So I'm enjoying not drinking anymore. But you're lucky when you're young and you didn't become a bad drinker. You probably know some drinkers now at your age that just drink. And I'm telling you, it's just so detrimental to your life.
It's crazy. I was thinking about this the other day. Like I was talking to an old college buddy about this. It's like, some of the people I graduated with, like, it's only been 6 years since we graduated. And some of them, I'm like, you think they have a mortgage and multiple kids, a lot of stuff going on. I'm like, for 27, 28, I don't know what the problem is, but like you said, it's the drinking, they drink every day, every chance. I will tell you, I'm not completely innocent in all this. I did during the pandemic, I picked up vaping, and I did that for like 2-3 years, hardcore, just pulling every time I could. And
when you say vaping, that means marijuana. You need marijuana, right?
No.
Cigarettes.
Yeah.
I didn't know what vaping was because I'd never done. I mean, I'd done it. I'm like, I don't like this electronic stuff.
Oh yeah, it's the electronic thing with the flavors, and it's So I was doing it. I'll be honest. The reason why I started doing it was like during the pandemic. I stayed in shape when I was out there, but during the pandemic, I was getting a little lazy. I was still working out, but I was eating a lot of chips, a lot of cheesecake. I was enjoying life. So I started doing it because it helped curb my appetite. So in one way, it was helping me, not eating all the junk food. but at the same time, I have asthma. So
I come back.
Yeah. So I come back to New York and I really feel it because New York, the weather is completely different. So, a lot more germs and stuff flying around. So, it got bad to the point where I was just like, I shouldn't be wheezing just walking upstairs. So,
no way.
Yeah.
You stopped.
I stopped. Yeah. I had to. Now, I quit cold turkey a year and a half ago. And occasionally, when I go out, sometimes my brothers, I'll hit them once in a while, but it's not what it used to be.
That's the beauty. That's like I said, like once in a while I'll have a drink, may not even two, because I know what two gets to 10 real fast with me. Yeah. So just once in a while, everything's about moderation. That's what Benjamin Franklin said. Moderation in everything, and you'll have a great life.
Yeah, like P. Diddy once said, "You want to party with?" No, I'm playing. I'm joking.
Back on the P. Diddy, another whale.
That's it. I'm not getting no ad sponsors no more. It's done. It's a wrap. What am I doing? I'm getting myself in trouble here. But, see, this is why I said I should do comedy, but
Absolutely, you got it.
I would say New York would handle the comedy. I think if I did a comedy routine in LA, I might get canceled. So,
oh boy,
yeah, yeah. But Ron, it's been a pleasure. It's been a wonderful conversation. I'm sure we'll have a couple more as time goes on. But where can people find you? Check out any new projects. I mentioned you have some films on Amazon Prime as we speak. You go check out. But anything else you want to shout out? Anything you want to plug?
Well, first off, I would love if you saw my movies on Amazon. One of them is called Bobby Mortal, which is about a comedian on the downslope of his life, Bobby Mortal. And the other one is called God's Will, about two preachers who leave their parishes and go out and go explore life. So God's Will and Bobby Mortal on Amazon. And then to follow me and the stuff that I'm doing in the performances I am, go to my Instagram, which is just Ron Barba, RONBARBA 1, and just follow me there.
Yeah, go check him out. Always doing some amazing content. Well, fellow New York creators, I watch it. Always enjoy. Always fun. Loud personality. I think your personality is probably a little louder than mine, and that's hard to beat. So
With that hair, baby. That's why you got the hair.
Yeah,
see, that hair is so loud. It's like if I had that hair, I'd be famous by now. So what's your excuse? But anyway, listen, I'm kidding. I'm doing the jokes over here, folks. No, but I love that hair. Once I saw you, I'm like, that is movie star hair. You're ready. You're gonna get this role. I hope I put you in something that makes you great.
I'm self-conscious. I'm gonna report you to Instagram now.
No,
get you out of there, cancel. But Ron, is always a pleasure, man. I thank you for coming on, and like I always say, a helping hand is a bad hand. It's not a way of life. It's no. I botched up my own outro. I'm messing up here.
I got cut. Take two.
Take two. It's because you insulted me. So,
you can take two. They don't even need to see that you messed up.
No, I'm keeping it in because this podcast is not about being perfect. It's about making mistakes and bouncing back and overcoming the odds. So, like I always say, a helping hand is a better hand. And it's not just a slogan. It's a way of life. Thank you to Ron for coming on. Always a great chat. Check out his projects. Check him out on Instagram. And you don't got to go home, but you can't stay here.
You got a sentence tattooed in script inside your arm, a donut topped off with tons of Lucky Charms. But tomorrow is your detox. Yesterday was Botox. Cuff those tight pants high enough so you could show socks. Got a flop Benz, but you ain't rich at all. Got some nice friends, but can't wait to ditch them all. Once you blow up your nose up, even though your show sucks, you don't give a shit cause your agent got you more bucks. Telling everyone you meet what you got poppin'. Telling everybody when your new book is dropping. You got a DUI when you was bar hopping. Now it's Uber every day and you can't afford shopping. What you gonna wear to the party in the hills? Are you Silver Lake or are you Beverly Hills?